Hi and welcome to Healthy Life Hacks. I'm Jennifer Jefferies, the present day wise woman, a realistic naturopath coming to you from the surfing beaches of Australia. This podcast is for those of you who are wanting to really rock your life and health and live from a place of prevention. Let's get into today's episode. A lot of us got really rattled 4 years ago when the world locked down, including me, absolutely including me. And I'm grateful for the fact that I had years of experience as a naturopath to have the tools, the skills to be able to come back to center sooner than later. But at first, bloody oath, I was rattled. What we've found is that people's bodies, like the body is amazing, it'll try to adapt to anything. However, if the stress goes on too long and we don't get the downtime to actually recover, we're trapped. And what we're finding at the moment is that people are in this stress loop. The perpetual stress loop is going round and round and round and round and round. And people's bodies are in survival mode. The pandemic, the whole everything ended 4 years ago, and yet people are more trapped now physically, emotionally, and mentally than they were then. It's showing up in our bodies. People being in survival mode, that's why I've spent the time this year to write my new book about how to break that stress loop. We can't make the stress go away. We've got to get our body to finally adapt to it, because at the moment, we're finding people's bodies are trapped. Let's get into it. So we know that we're living a fast-paced world. That's all cool. I go fast. It's like a superpower that I can go so fast, that ADHD brain of mine. I can power on. However, I've learned over the years how to have my body be able to keep up with me. A lot of people are struggling in that department. And in fact, we know that their bodies are still trapped in the last 4 years of stress. Why? What's the difference is that we can be stuck in that survival mode. And I talk about in my new book, I fuck the stress, that there's this thing called general adaptation syndrome, GAS. And so in the first, it's kind of these 3 stages that our body goes through when it's experiencing stress. So first stage is just kind of like, it's like the alarm stage. It's like, yep, there's a dinosaur to chase down or whatever it is, or beat this saber-toothed tiger. There's a stress. And it's not the big stresses nowadays that kill us. It's the little ones that keep us trapped. It's the kids going, mum, 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 mum. It's the too many emails, too much traffic. It's little life bites nowadays that actually tax us. So stage 1, it's like you're in the alarm state. Yep, okay, got to deal with this thing. If we don't deal with it and then get the recovery time to literally balance out hormones again, stress hormones again, we can move to stage 2. Stage 2, it's kind of like, all right, this thing's not going away anytime soon. I really need to do something with this. Now, this is a classic. This is where we see people going through life. They're busy, 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 busy. They go on holidays. On day 1 of their holidays, they get a cold or get sick of some description. It's like their body says, well, yeah, just stop. I've had enough. And you're on holiday. So generally most people will. The problem is so often people are powering through this stage 2 of gas, not getting the recovery time that they need, and they move to stage 3, which is where I went to when I was 26. I absolutely burned out my adrenal glands. It's very real. So I know what it's like, and that's why I do so much nowadays to have my body to be able to keep up with me. Okay, the world's not going to slow down. The stuff that happened over the last few years happened, and we didn't get a chance to adapt to it. If anything, we adapted to hanging out there and not getting the recovery time. And we're paying the price. We're paying the price with physical, emotional, and mental health at this moment. We really are. We're seeing it's huge. So what are some ways that you can tell if you're actually stuck in that survival kind of mode? The first one is, I thought I'd talk about 5 today. 5 quick, easy markers to notice. The first one is constant exhaustion. Now, I'm talking about not just physical exhaustion, but also mental, emotional exhaustion as well. It's like that perpetual, again, it's that perpetual stress loop. It's like the exhaustion creates more exhaustion. And we've got to be able to break that loop. So what it's showing is your body is in overwhelm. It's not just physically, it's the mental, it's the, what do I do? I'm being bombarded with all this information nowadays. People are in information overload in such a big way. It goes beyond just physically tired, but the emotional and mental fatigue feeds the physical fatigue. So how do we get out of it? The first one is to prioritize rest and self-care. Now, it's not about going to the spa day, going and doing a spa day all day, every day. That's not what it's about. And it's not just getting sleep. However, sleep is our first priority because our adrenal glands need between 7 and 9 hours sleep to recharge. That's what they need. And so what I know is that getting to bed before 10 p.m., every minute you're in bed before 10 p.m. is like bonus points to help your body recover and recharge faster. Okay. But it's also things like that help us, to break this loop are things like meditation, hobbies. I play a ukulele. Why? Because it's fun. Our adrenals are recharged with good food, good rest, and good play. People do that. Yeah, I'll eat good and I'll exercise and I'll do all those things, or I'll meditate, but they forget to play. We need to play as well. I surf in the mornings, not because I want to be a gun surfer. I surf because, like yesterday morning, for real, I was in the surf. And it's whale season at the moment. There are humpback whales everywhere. And I'm in the lineup, and that's the norm is probably 30, 40 people out in the lineup. And the next minute we heard that we see whales breach all the time, every day. They're just cruising past. It's whale season. But one, as it breached, gave us its whale song. I could cry thinking about it. It was amazing. It was like, oh, I can't even make a whale song. It was like, oh my gosh, we hear them. If we go under the water, we can hear the whales. And it's like, this is wonderful. To hear the whales above the water was like, ah. This morning, the surf was blown out. I went down there to go for a walk along the beach. For some exercise instead, get out into nature. It's one of those things that we can do for self-care. And there was a pod of 6 or 7 humpbacks going past, just frolicking and doing their whale thing. And one jumped out of the water and went, it was like I've never heard a whale song above the water 2 days in a row. I can't tell you what that did for my mental health, my emotional health, my physical body as a result of it. It was fucking insane in the coolest way, just beyond cool. So we've got to, it's not about just going to bed early. It's doing the little things to go for a walk. I could have walked around the neighborhood this morning. I chose to walk at the beach. Why? Because I know sucking in all those, negative ions is good for me. I know the value in taking that little bit of time to do that. I got bonus today and yesterday surfing with getting to hear whale song above the water. Like, it's crazy cool. All right, so that's number one. And we say in Chinese medicine that we need to spend energy to get energy. So when you are exhausted, we need to use energy, but it's not in the flog yourself at the gym. It's in the exude exactly that. Go for a walk out in nature. Get the quality sleep, just be nice to yourself. Cool. And that helps to bring energy back. That's a place to start. Number 2 is feeling disconnected. It is crazy that it's crazy nowadays, I think, that we're seeing loneliness said to be an epidemic. I write about it in my new book because it's real. And I get, as a survival mode, when we're feeling overwhelmed and it's all just too much, it's easier sometimes to detach, to go inside. I am a recluse by nature. I am the lone wolf who'd rather play with myself, so to speak, than play with other people. That's my comfort zone. My comfort zone is to be by myself. And I made a very mindful decision a few decades ago, especially go out and be a speaker in that if I wanted to have an impact on the world, me hiding from the world, for me to feel safe and everything, is not going to help that happen. So I chose to, I've chosen to get comfortably uncomfortable and just more comfortable over time being out there with people. But so I really, really, really understand the wanting to withdraw more than you'll ever believe, because that's my natural default. When that happens, though, when we are withdrawn, and you've probably, whether you've done it or whether you've had people in your life, you can tell when they are withdrawn, and it can really impact on relationships, whether friendships or relationship with partners, whatever it is. It's huge. So how do we get out of that when we are withdrawn? And something that the pandemic really did for me, it really showed me the importance of friends. So again, it's not my natural default to have friends. My natural default is to play by myself. However, a handful of quality friends it's in my throat, just the emotion that I feel from my friends that I've done it, like, since I've let my heart be open to building additional friendships. It's helped my, my personal relationships, with my family relationships. It's helped everything. It's helped so many areas of my life. And ultimately, we need to feel safe and loved to explore that comfort zone, to move outside that comfort zone. And so finding people that you gel with, how do we know if we're going to gel with people when we first find them? It's, one of my mentors, David Wood, he says to me, how does someone become your best friend? Well, someone originally said, hello. You meet someone and it just starts. You don't know that someone's going to become your best friend or not become your best friend down the track, but at least opening up our heart and venturing out is what makes a difference. And so when I first started surfing, I'd cross paths, with some girls. If you're surfing the same time every day, you kind of cross paths with people. It's inevitable. And who surf the same time every day. And when in doing that, you kind of g'day in the water, just say g'day. And eventually it was like, I've got no one else to surf with. Do you want to surf tomorrow morning? And it just grows. And that grew so much for me during the pandemic that I didn't have my normal coping regime, so to speak, like that I had such a routine around my traveling 9 months a year as a professional speaker, and I had a rhythm to it and it worked. But when that was all taken away with me with all the lockdowns, I needed to operate differently. And so I very mindfully realized, and I'll talk about it in the book, I mindfully in the early stages, because I noticed myself not just kind of being the recluse, but really withdrawing in a big way. And I went, Jen, this is not good for your health, as in mental health. And so I actively, I could play my ukulele at home. I chose to find a local group as things started opening up. I found a group that plays ukulele at the beach. There's a group, it's over 70 oldies, and they're just an absolute bloody hoot. I've learned. And the first time I went, I was so scared and so intimidated because I thought they could all play better than me. I could play like 3 or 4 chords initially, but I eventually, parked my ego to the side and went, just get in and play with these guys. And it's been amazing. It's been such an addition to my health, mental health for sure. So I really understand the withdrawing thing, okay? Feeling disconnected and withdrawing. I promise it's worth it to get yourself out of that. Scary at the start, but it just, we get more comfortably uncomfortable as we go along. Okay, number 3 is operating on autopilot. So this is where we're just going through the motions, it's like, again, I remember when the pandemic first started and all the lockdowns first started, I remember saying to people, I feel like I'm in fucking Groundhog Day. It's like I get up, I can go for a walk or I can go for a surf, around the lockdowns, and I had an epic life, but it was so strange to me to not be traveling the world and doing everything there was, that I slipped into, when I went off track, I slipped into this kind of autopilot mode, with no big drive and intentions. I just coasted. Everything seemed overwhelming. And this lasted, weeks and maybe a month, until I noticed I was doing it. I went, I have to get out of it. And so everything I'm teaching you here and everything that's in my book is literally how I got myself out of that space, out of survival mode. So I started looking for all the little wins. I started, like I said, simple things to that were going to make me smile, like play a ukulele. I tried to learn how to play a guitar. That was too hard for my brain, but I could play a ukulele right from the start. I could learn 2 or 3 chords and play a song. I started this podcast. I adapted. I started this podcast in 2020, the first year of the pandemic, because it was like I couldn't travel and speak and teach and do the things I wanted to do. And so I started this podcast. I needed a project. I needed something positive to change my routine to get out of that Groundhog Day thing. Yeah, it is. It's big. Another big sign of being in survival mode is high anxiety and irritability, like all the little things that can piss you off, stuff that you would usually just cope with. Don't. And so survival mode can really manifest in people as anxiety and just irritability. Things get to us. Anxiety is through the roof. It's big. And please, if you need professional help, get professional help. But when we're in that survival mode, people don't realize, oh, I'm stressed. They're just like, I'm anxious. We're in that perpetual stress loop and we need to break it. Even if we move one piece of that perpetual stress loop, we're going to head in the right direction. And my next podcast is all about the perpetual stress loop. So hang on for that one, okay? It's too big to do it attached to this one. So we get in this heightened state. So how do we get out of it? Everything that I've written in the book is about it. But the bottom line is it's stress management. It is. It's the breathing. And again, I go into it in the next, listen to the next podcast. But it's everything from the way we're breathing. It's the way moving our body. Chinese medicine, we say, our energy is it's like a river. If it gets still like a pond, it goes putrid. But while it's in movement, it's free and it's healthy. So we need to move our bodies. And I remember, Uber Eats got this for real. Like Uber Eats kind of got, or it came into its own during the pandemic. And those first few weeks, I'd been used to traveling the world and doing all that kind of stuff. And someone said, oh, I get some Uber Eats because we couldn't leave the house. Well, I discovered that there was a Baskin and Robbins ice cream shop around the corner from my place. I could order a tub of ice cream and sit on the bloody couch and eat it. And I did. And I noticed that this kind of shit, I went, Jen, this is not cool. Get yourself out of this. So everything I'm talking about, everything I did in this book is how I got my shit together when I went into survival mode during it. But relaxing things like, yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong, baths instead of showers, our body's born in, or we travel around in fluid basically for the first 9 months that we're growing before we're birthed. Water of any description is really restorative to our body. And so having a bath versus a shower is really huge. So notice where you're at. That's a big thing. And then what are little things you can do on a day-to-day basis to bring in to just, take the edge even off that irritability and anxiety. Number 5 is about neglecting self-care. And what I did, like I said, I got into this groove for a couple of weeks feeling sorry for myself. And ordering a 340-gram hand pack of pralines and cream Baskin and Robbins ice cream. I did that a few days a week, and I was like, this is not me, and this is not cool. Okay, and that's what happens. We get that it's just too hard. I'm in overwhelm. Eating crap food, skipping, food, not going for walks, not doing exercise, not talking to people. Like I say, I totally emotionally withdrew. All that kind of stuff just to be able to cope and get through the day makes it harder for us to get through the day. So how do we get out of that? Set up a self-care routine that works for you. And like I say, self-care is not going to the spa. It's not. It's all the little things we can do of a day. It's and I remember when I got sober, I don't know, 30 odd years ago. It was like, just for the next hour, I'm not going to drink alcohol. So it could be like, just for the next hour, I'm just going to eat healthy foods. Just for the next meal, I'm just going to eat close to nature. You have to be 100% right, but get it 80% right. If we can get that bare ass minimum, that 80% right, we're good. Okay, we can do this. The perfectionism leads to overwhelm, and overwhelm leads to basically immobility. People stop and don't do anything because I think it's just too bloody hard. Okay, so think about in advance what you can do physically, emotionally, mentally. So whether like eating routine, bringing 80% of your meals to be more nutritious, setting time aside for relaxation. It might be that you end the day with a bath instead of a shower. That little thing could make a huge difference to how your body's going to stay locked in survival mode or to break that perpetual stress loop. It can be that simple. Everyone's different. What are you going to do that's just fun? We need to do fun and frivolous stuff, whimsical, my wife Alice, I love bubbles and bubble makers. I'd never thought just to have them in the car or anything. We just do this whimsical thing where we just leave a trail of bubbles everywhere we go. It is beautiful. Little things like that can help us bring back a sense of control to our life. The stress and shit's going to go down anyway. It just is. It's time to get our bodies out of survival mode and just start. So my new book is all about getting your body out of overwhelm. Like I said, so many of us were rattled. That's what's prompted me to write this book this year, is the fact that I'm just seeing people trapped in survival mode. It's time to break that. It's called Fuck the Stress, the bare ass minimum. That's your 80% to do to bring your body back into balance, physically, emotionally, and mentally. I know that when we get those foundations right, the rest flourishes. It's not what we do 100% of the time, it's what we do 80% of the time that matters. So time to do the bare ass minimum, get out of survival mode, and come back to center. See ya. I want to thank you for being here today. If you enjoyed my podcast, please let me know by leaving a review on Apple Podcast. Every month, I draw one lucky person who leaves a review, have a free 1-hour consultation with me. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're tuning in from so that you always catch the next episode. I welcome your emails, and you can write to me at podcast@healthylifehacks.com.au. Until next time, remember, when it comes to life, live it, love it, and get on with it.